Hello and welcome to Sibos 2018 in Sydney. I'm Hannah Wallace, and with me now is Simon Eacott, Head of Payments Innovation and Business Development for Natwest. Hello Simon, how are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
Fantastic. Well, it's near the end of the first day of Sibos. Walking around, what have you picked up as the hot topics?
Well, first of all, what a great event and what a great venue as well. It's great to be here in Sydney. The usual excitement here on the floor. I think for me there's probably three elements. The first is around technology, which you'd expect given the title of the whole conference. And for me as well, things like artificial intelligence is starting to come very high on the agenda, which is particularly relevant for us in Natwest, where it's becoming much more embedded in everything that we do. I think the second element, and it is an ever-present, is cybersecurity and the need to keep our customers safe and secure, and again very, very high on our own individual agenda. And the third one is the bit that excites me most of all, is around innovation, but increasingly innovation not just for its own sake, but very much more customer driven now. And so you can see it starting to come through in the way that we talk about innovation, the use cases that are there. So I think those are the three things for me.
Right, and how does regulatory and customer driven innovation differ in output?
Arguably they should really be one and the same, but I think historically that's not necessarily always been the case, where regulation has tended to be a case of do compliance, do the minimum and no more. But I think now, as regulation becomes much more customer output driven, customer detriment, solving customer detriment, the need to do more when we're doing some of these regulatory programs becomes more apparent. I think in the UK, we've been pretty good at that. So if you go back 10 years when we launched faster payments, one of the first economies to do so, it wasn't necessarily something which was, which the bank saw as being absolutely necessary. But what we've used it for since then is to develop some very, very compelling customer propositions. And it's that which we need to keep putting into some of these regulatory developments. Within our own shop, we've certainly done that as well in terms of using things like PSD2 and open banking to develop customer propositions. We've launched a thing called Natwest Pay, which very much uses open banking and open APIs to develop a payment proposition that allows customers to make account-to-account payments without the need to use card rails and input card details. So it's using that regulation, going a bit further, seeing how it can add to the customer experience that is going to be really important going forward.
Fantastic, that's a really exciting development. And finally, in large industry programs such as NPA, how do you ensure that everyone is included in the journey?
Yeah, it's a very timely question again. I mean, in the UK we face probably over the next 3 to 5 years some really, really big changes all the way across the payment industry. And with the changes in the governance in the payments industry as well, it's really, really important that we get everybody on board. Again, the days of it being, regulate, build something and hope that everybody comes, they're long gone. You've got so many different players in the ecosystem, whether it's the participants, whether it's the end users, it's the big tech, it's fintech, it's the infrastructure companies. You've got to bring them all along in the journey. So communication is important. Getting the right governance structure is important as well, making sure that all those constituencies are part of it. But through it all, you've got to make it very, very relevant to the customer and keep coming back to the customer and keeping that as your holy grail, if you like, as you do some of those developments. So MPA will be a great example of the UK trying to make that work, to make sure that we keep the customer at the forefront whilst reinventing all of the underlying technology.
Wonderful. Well, Simon, it's been a pleasure. I hope you enjoy the rest of the event.
Thank you very much.
And thank you for watching.